of the Viking King by the Art of Storytelling Classes, Camp Pursuit 2017.
Once upon a time, there was a man in a boat at sea. His name was George, named after his great-great-grandfather, who was the king of the Vikings. George was an old man of 40 and came from the dark, mysterious Black Sea. During the long nights at sea, George dreamt of freedom and being home with his people. He was being held captive on a pirate ship. How he got there was quite the story. You see, the leader of the pirates was Goldbeard, a direct descendant of the infamous Blackbeard, who had dominated the Black Sea, keeping the Vikings far away. Goldbeard carried on his great-great-grandfather's rule by kidnapping George when he was a young lad of 10 years. George was in line to be the next king of the Vikings, and Goldbeard had to stop him before he got crowned. He captured George in a cunning way. You see, many years ago, 30 to be exact, George was on the beach collecting shells to make a necklace for his beloved mother, Fiona. As he was picking up the shells, he discovered a golden shell shining brightly in the morning sunlight.
George looked out across the sea and noticed movement of what looked like a shark's fin. It seemed to be swimming inland towards the golden shell. George quickly reached for the shell. When he lifted it up, the shell transformed into a cage around George's whole body. George was confused. Before George could figure out what was happening, the shark jumped out of the water, grabbed the cage, biting off George's right hand. George screamed in pain as the water turned a deep, dark red. The shark pulled the cage into the sea and swam quickly towards a majestic golden ship. The golden ship belonged to no other than Goldbeard himself. Everything on his ship was made of gold. Goldbeard was obsessed with gold, like his great-great-grandfather was obsessed with black. Goldbeard had captured George. As his pirates pulled up the cage, Goldbeard and his pirates celebrated. The king-to-be of the Vikings was finally locked up forever, or so they thought.
This was a great victory for Goldbeard, as his pirate family had been in a long battle against the Viking family. Goldbeard's great-great-grandfather and George's great-great-grandfather were arch enemies, battling back and forth for over a century for the domination of the coveted Black Sea.
With the recent capture of George, the Black Sea was now in the hands of the pirates. George screamed out, but no one heard him, as he was tucked away in the depths of the golden ship. Years had passed. George barely kept alive.
The living conditions were terrible. All he had to sleep on was a ragged old blanket and a flat pillow. As for food, he only got one loaf of bread and 2 glasses of water a day. He had nothing to do but question his sanity. This was his life for 30 years. His only companions, the spiders on the walls. They were not poisonous, nor did they bite him, but only a person who had been imprisoned for so long would call them friends. He talked to them frequently, imagining a plan for escape.
One night, George peered hopefully out of his cell. Not a single soul was on the deck of the ship, which glimmered in the moonlight. It was his chance. He called on his spider friends to carry out the plan. They went to work with 80 legs picking at the lock. George heard a click and a thud, as the lock fell from his cell at last. George was free. He quickly climbed out of his cell and snuck into the captain's quarters, where he quietly snatched pirate's clothes out of his closet.
Suddenly, the ship jostled. George put on the pirate clothes and ran out to see what was wrong. As he stepped onto the deck, he saw the Viking ship had weighed anchor right next to the pirate ship. George could not believe his eyes. The pirates woke up and immediately drew their swords as the Vikings invaded the ship.
Miniature battles spread like the plague as pirates and Vikings fought. George weaved between the swords and hurried to the side of the ship. But on his way, Goldbeard stopped him. He looked him up and down, trying to recognize him. But he didn't have time, as George speared him directly in the heart with his left hand.
Before anyone noticed what he had done, he jumped from the ship and swam in the shark-infested waters to shore. He reached the shore exhausted but safe.
From that day forward, he decided to become a normal townsperson in the hopes that the pirates would never find him again. And that is the story I tell you, my sons, the tale of the Viking King, and you're looking at him.
The end.